Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech Podcast series. This is Lakshit Pant from Azure Developer Community. We are back here again with another Tech Podcast series where we invite all the industry leaders, young startup leaders, and founders to talk to engage with us and uh, just we are just trying to learn from their experience what's going in the market, what's going in the startup ecosystem, how they are building their product, and what's the future of the all the new technologies that are coming in. And for today's podcast, we have a pleasure to host Mr. Shauryam Gupta, the CEO of Rupeezy, and he has been working in this fintech. He has been building this prominent fintech technology, and today we will deep dive into how has been his thoughts about the this fintech industry. Starting just in order to kick off this podcast, Shauryam, if you could introduce yourself first.
Yes. Hi, Lakshit. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Shauryam Gupta. It's been roughly 10 years that I have been into the tech space. I'm a 2014 graduate from IIT Kharagpur, and I remember that the first time I ever wrote code was back in my first job when I was trying to kind of automate a VBS script. So I was back then I was working with Imbibe. It's an edtech company now acquired by Reliance. Since then, I have been working in startups only. Uh, First, it was Imbibe. Then I went on to do a telemedicine startup, which is called Get Remedy. Post that, I worked with a gaming company called Mekmoka, then which was then acquired by Flipkart.
Wow.
And after these three things, I came into stockbroking, and it has been a fantastic journey for me. Going from writing VBA code to Ruby, now Golang. So I have seen a lot uh, that way across technologies, and
Right.
uh, yeah.
Yeah, so every so I say this every time, like when you work in a startup,
Mm,
you learn a lot. Your speed
mm,
changes to 2x or maybe 10x sometimes, right? When you learn in big
yes,
organization, your speed changes to 10x because you are now responsible for all the things. It's not like multiple people are working on the same thing, right? So that gives a little bit plus that you know broadens your thought process, I believe. So if you
yes.
could share us the vision of that of building Rupeezy, and diving into the fintech space. What was the thought at that point of time when you initially started Rupeezy?
So the thought process actually starts a few years previous to that. So when I was doing my telemedicine startup and then later on gaming, one key insight that I understood was that when you are doing a startup or when you are building a business, always pick a domain which may be small in size but growing at a very rapid pace. That's the sweet spot which you want to hit always if you are
Right.
if you aim to have a successful business. Okay. So back in 2020, uh, uh, that was the time I figured out ki, okay, now stock trading, and I mean to say trading and not investing. Trading is a segment which is a bit small. In the entire country, only 50 lakh trade active traders are there, not
Right.
investors. Traders are
Yeah.
there, right? And that segment is growing very rapidly.
Hmm.
So that's why I chose this sector.
Maybe do you believe it's because of the Instagram revolution? People see all these broker or all these traders who are just live streaming, or sometimes they are just putting some content over LinkedIn, you know show offing something. Sometimes all these cars that they are building, right? Everything. So that had made a significant difference according to me, right?
That that is a factor. That is a
Hmm.
factor. Coupled with, I would say that people are people have much more insight now
Okay.
regarding how to trade. And that may be because of influencers or what they have read, but people are more aware in general. we see constantly people learning Python and writing their own algos, right?
Right.
And that is not just FOMO.
Exactly.
This
Yeah.
is beyond FOMO.
Right. So now just moving a little bit ahead, Rupeezy has been recognized as one of the fastest growing brokers in India. I
Yes.
want to know how has the tech played a pivotal role achieving this growth, because for when you are building a broker system, there needs to be very there are the matrices are very like matrices should be very pure, right? You have to build a very strong tech, you have to pass all the government policies, and there are multiple governance policies that you have to follow, right? So how do you think, what has been the major role here?
So it's a multi-layered question, and appropriately, the tech is also very multi-layered, right? So let's just pick one small part of it. Okay,
Right.
let's focus on core trading part. Let's skip all the KYC and reporting. Let's just skip all of that.
Right.
So the core trading part is the one which drives the most customer trust on your system, because like I said, we are focused on traders, and a stable system is something which is valued the most, right?
Yeah.
So when we started building our tech, that was the pivotal center point of all our engineering discussions, that okay, how do we enhance reliability, how do we enhance monitoring, right? And I remember back in the day, we used to have this metric called number of days without any issues,
Okay.
right? So initially that number started from 1, right? And now we
Okay.
are up at 6 months. Now we have stopped counting that
Wow.
metric.
Wow.
Uh, but so reliability has been the key metric for us in all our backend systems.
Hmm.
Uh, that is driven by good development practices, I would say. Because initially when we started, most of our issues crept up because we were doing some kind of hero deployment, or a bug in someone's code which was not properly QA'd.
Right. So when you said about the good quality code and the development part, I would like to know,
Yeah.
what do you think, what has the significant difference that has came up in the skills over the course of time, right? Because we see a lots of developers coming in. There is a, if we say the, I don't know if it is because of the COVID or because of the recession or whatnot, right? But there is a huge market gap that needs to be filled when we say about the employment part, right? And the skills
Yeah.
part. People are not very well educated in when we talk about coding, right? Because we come,
Yes.
so I personally go in multiple colleges, engage with the colleges, right?
Yes.
So I see people are not, they are in the maybe somewhere in the MC, they are doing their post graduation or maybe in the fourth year, but they are
Mhm.
not well aware when I used to be in my first year of colleges, my seniors were like, they were, everyone was top notch in their whatever field they are in. Doesn't matter if it is data analysis or
Mm.
something very a small
Mm.
part, it could be there, like as you said, right? But RPA codings, right? A simple RPA coding, but he was the master of RPA coding. There are multiple seniors we saw at that point of time, but we see a
Mm.
difference right now. So what do you think, what are
Right.
your views on it?
So one of the key questions I always ask in my interview is that, why are you in development?
Okay.
Why not do anything else? I mean, the creator economy is booming, gig economy is booming. Why development?
Hmm.
Uh, Most of the people who are coming into this field are kind of going in a through the herd mentality. They haven't really figured out that if programming is something that they really enjoy, and that gets very evident by the way they approach. I mean, are they reading documentations? Are they going deep into the technology that they are using?
Right.
Someone who might have used databases for 10 years and doesn't know how the technology works, that is a red flag for me.
Yes.
And maybe
Good.
that person is not a passionate person. Maybe he has just been doing it again and again and gotten some.
Solving the tickets maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
The focus. Yeah, please.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoy working with people who, go to uh, uh, your what do we open source projects and raise tickets for for the stuff that they have been using. People who are trying to improve the stuff that they have been using. Though that quality is missing for sure in 99% of the people who are coming to the industry, I would say.
Yeah, and now when you have mentioned about open source, from this, this stage, I would really like to say, if one needs to survive, for if one if saying from a longer run,
Hmm.
if one does open source, he is sorted, right? If one doesn't, then there will be multiple, if the language will vanish out, right? There are multiple new languages coming in, but open source
Yes.
will always remain there, right? If you're
Yes.
doing job, it will vanish out. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, for sure. Even as companies, I mean, one of the key things that we do is we never use proprietary softwares for our internal use cases.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, for communications, we don't use Slack. We will probably use something like Mattermost and maybe sponsor it or do some improvement on it. But we are we are cognizant of that fact that everyone in our team also needs to uh, be involved in in open source in some way or the other.
Hmm. Now, as a chief architect of the entire backend solution and and the
Hmm.
user experience at Rupeezy, could you elaborate how tech is used to enhance both the backend process and the user interaction? And when I say user interaction, because there are multiple, there are other competitors in the market that have been dominating this industry, right? There for a couple of years there has been a monopoly, but now we see a lot more diffraction in the industry, right? But
Yes.
from a user experience perspective, the more easier you make for the user to buy a trade, sell a trade,
Hmm.
keeping in mind the government policies, how do you align the
Hmm.
both the things that makes a good product?
So that needs a really good consumer insight first of all. uh, so what we have is that traders need to see speed.
Hmm. Right.
They want things happening at a blazing fast speed. So and from that we then sort of architect the entire system. Okay,
Okay.
I'll give you an example that let's say you are placing a trade. When you place a trade, an API call has to be made. The server needs to respond. Then you need to show whether the order was successfully placed or not, or what was the error message, right?
Right.
And that can take anywhere up to 100 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds. Okay, and one key aspect is that trades don't happen synchronously. Trades always happen asynchronously. Okay, we'll
Right.
send a message to exchange will come back and say, okay, what was the final status of the trade.
Right.
So now there are the straightforward way of approaching the problem would be, okay, I make a API call, I wait for a couple of seconds and see what is happening with the trade, and during that time I'll show a loader or any other screen so that the customer sees the end response of the end future of the trade.
Right.
But instead what we did was that once we have sent the trade in 40 milliseconds or 50 milliseconds, we just navigate the user from wherever he came from, right? And we integrated a WebSocket behind it so that whenever a trade's status has been updated, then we can sort of notify the user that, okay, whatever order you had placed, its status is this.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you think AI has, because over the course of years, AI has been in the industry, right? And it's not a new fancy word, but now with generative AI, it's been a fancy word, right?
Hmm.
What do you think about how is there any significance of generative AI in this and in the Rupeezy, tech system? And what do you think how it can be leveraged maybe in some sense if in future?
So generative AI has to go use case by use case. It can't be a blanket technology for everyone, right?
Right.
So for us, it has been in the use cases of exploring stocks, exploring opportunities. because at any day you have roughly 1,50,000 securities being traded on the exchange, and no one can manually do a scan of all the securities, see which of them are uh, following the proper RSI indicator, and uh, narrow down on the specific stock. So generative AI has a good use case as a scanner of
Right.
all stocks. That is number one. Secondly is more towards education, because the jargons are a lot for anyone who is just entering the market. uh, Figuring out what a limit order is, what a regular order is, what a market order is, that
Yes.
is hard for someone who
Right.
is just entering the market.
Right. And if one of the industry leader of the finance industry, you might know him, like Nikhil Kamath said,
Yeah,
like only 1% of the traders community make profit out of it. Only
yeah,
1%.
that is absolutely correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
even SEBI came out with a research of its own, uh, because ultimately SEBI has the entire data. Nobody else has,
Right.
right?
Right.
So SEBI has come out with a report that only 1% people are making profits. Yes.
Yeah, because the, the dopamine effect that comes in if you see some kind of trade, right? That is, and in today's world, if you will see that, that's very massive, right? People are very aggressive about any trade. They have zero patience level for any trade, right? So
Hmm.
we see a lots of these facts are absolutely right. Now, talking about more from a government perspective and the support that you get, how do you think, or how has been the support of government in building the entire product, right? Because government is supporting all the startups and is encouraging to go and you try out some ideas and helping in multiple ways. How do you think government is there to support in terms of fintech industry?
The securities market specifically have been revolutionized by the government itself completely, from easing the account opening norms to now we are moving towards T0 settlements, meaning whatever stocks you buy today will come to your demat today itself.
Okay.
uh, uh, which previously was 2 days.
Hmm.
Settlement used to have, if you're buying Reliance today, they would come to your demat 2 days later, and only
Right.
then you can do anything about it. So now the push has been towards keeping most of the money of the investor with the investor himself, and not with the banks and in the pipelines.
Right.
So that way, SEBI has been very future forward, I would say.
Hmm.
They have been looking at, and T0 settlement is something which very few markets have, very few, and who have them are operating at a very low scale,
Okay.
right?
And yeah,
So that I would say ki, that really helps booster the entire ecosystem.
okay. And I, maybe this is a little out of the box, but I really wanted to know, what do you think, which segment or which system people are using the most? Is it UPI? Is it credit card, debit card, or what? You for making all these transactions in the trading system.
Uh, so first of all, up until now, credit cards were not allowed.
Okay.
They are still not allowed. Debit cards have just forayed into the picture. Uh, and the reason is mostly because all the payment aggregators and the Visa network, Visa Mastercard network, they charge percentage based fee on the transaction value. A
Right.
broker cannot give percentage based fee.
Right. Absolutely.
We need to have fixed charges
Right.
on a transaction.
Hmm.
uh, and now, because most of the transactions offered to the brokers by payment gateways are free if they are made by UPI, that's why UPI has become the de facto mode of payment.
Hmm.
But bigger traders who are putting in 5 lakh 10 lakh capital daily, they use net banking, but the 99.9% chunk is UPI.
Okay. Okay, yeah, because maybe it's easy to use, right? It's very easy to use. You can just
Yes.
make it like, it's pretty much handy instead of net banking, and also net banking
Yes.
takes a little of time, I guess, right? Other than UPI,
Sorry.
net banking does take a little bit more time to
It has
can.
more steps. It has more number of steps to do. That's why
Hmm.
it takes time. Interestingly, we are moving now towards a era wherein money doesn't need to leave your account. itself. Like when it happens with you are applying for an IPO, right? The money is just blocked in your account, as bus style, and you can just block the money in your account and you can start trading. It doesn't need
Right.
to leave the account.
Yeah. Now coming to the next part of the podcast, with the rise of this, blockchain technology, we have been,
Hmm.
listening to this from 2019, right?
Yes.
Especially, do you see a potential application in the fintech technology, and how busy explore these opportunities? Because I have seen a drastic difference between all these years. Why? Because, at the starting point of time, 2019, 2020, 2021, even, these were the golden 4 years for
Yes.
the blockchain industry. But 2022, 2023, these companies, some companies might have shut down, and some companies have been, now they are just bankrupt, and multiple things that we see on the news daily. So what do you think, what are the significance here? And again, there are two things. So I was recording one podcast with one of
Hmm.
the industry leaders, and he mentioned something about the tokenless blockchain. So if you can enlighten us more on this, so what are the most, is it tokenless or is it just token blockchain? What is coming in?
uh, I'm not an expert on blockchain by any measure, but what my take has been is that people who are building applications on sort of on blockchain, applications which have real world impact, they will sustain given
Okay.
enough governance support.
Okay.
Okay. For example, in capital markets, if you look at how trades and money is settled, you will see that there is a chain of 4 to 5 players involved. I mean,
Right.
you as a trader, then I am as a broker, then there is a clearing member, then there is a clearing, then there is a NCCL. So
Yes.
there's an entire chain through which clearing happens, right?
Yeah.
And basically, the clearing house is just acting as a central broker, which is ensuring that that the trades will get settled. It's their
Right.
responsibility. Now, this is the key ethos of blockchain itself, right? That put everything on a smart contract, and it will guarantee that a trade will get settled. But to
Right.
implement this idea of putting settlements on a blockchain, it will definitely require governance intervention. Without someone like SEBI or RBI or Nandan Nilekani coming in, I don't see it becoming a mainstream thing.
Yeah, somewhere, yeah, absolutely. And when you have mentioned about multiple layers, because I have worked in the UPI sector, right? I was working
Hmm.
with some startup in the fintech industry there. I saw just for making one bill payment, there are multiple, layers that has been
Yes.
installed, right? COU,
Yes.
POU, billers, and whatnot, right? And
They're
everyone
all
is,
trust. They're all
yeah,
trust mechanisms, right? How, okay, how do I trust you? Let's install a broker. How do I
yeah.
trust you? Install a broker.
But government, I believe they have done a decent work in the term of blockchain. Not very less people know that the ONDC entire is built on the
Yes.
backend network, right? So
Yes.
somewhere they're trying it out, but not 100%, right? I believe there needs to be a lot more uh, knowledge that should come in the market, right? Now,
Yes.
from an entrepreneur perspective, I just wanted to
Mm.
know what advice you will give to other entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, especially how to build a startup, right? What should be the idea? Because after this generative AI, right, everyone is that API call thing, right? Calling open API and then just simply saying that, yeah, we have built something like this has been there, right? We have seen this, right?
Yes.
So what do you think, what goes in and out to building a startup? What should be the idea? Because government, colleges, everyone is there to support. There are multiple incubation programs going in,
Mm.
incubation college programs going in. So what do you think, what should be, so money is not a problem always now, at least for now, the young entrepreneurs. What should
Mm.
be the base idea that can make take an idea to a startup level?
I think I started the podcast with that idea that pick a segment which is small but fast growing.
Hmm.
Apart from that, always take a 500 feet view of the entire problem, because most people, what they think is that, okay, I am personally facing this problem, so let me do a startup on this,
Right.
right? The people often fail to see whether if someone will pay for it, how many people will pay for it. Those things generally get skipped in your uh, passion, because most
Hmm.
people are passionate, right? They are like, मेरे को करना है ये,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, they are just
So
more excited, right?
yeah, they're more excited. So take a step back, look at the problem from top to down, see how many people are actually facing that problem, talk to your users, talk to your potential users
Hmm.
about
Right.
whether your solution will even solve their problem.
Right. Yeah. And I just wanted to make take your affirmation on this statement that goes in my mind definitely. If people say there are not no jobs in the market, but if yeah, that's true, but at the same point of time there are more opportunities to build a startup, right? So these things are getting balanced, so you can try out your own idea and everything, right? You can try out on your own. All these, there are multiple players to support you, so you should focus on if there needs to be an alternative. There are no jobs, right?
I think jobs are there,
Okay.
jobs are there, but uh, employable skills are bit
Okay.
missing,
Okay.
because from the employer's point of view also, if you see, everyone now has access to generative AI, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So everyone needs to up their game as well, right? uh, Apart from that, if someone wants to do a startup, I mean, it's still 99 to 1,
Yeah.
99% will fail, 1% will be
See,
able
yeah.
to build a successful business. So I mean, both these problems require a person to, read a lot, upskill themselves, to talk to users, talk to client partners. So it's the same set of things to do for both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of work, or maybe the time that goes in and around. Right now, the final question that I really want to ask with you in this entire podcast is, and this is my personal favorite question. I ask to every industry leader this: like, if you have 24 hours with no deadlines, nothing, nothing, no client meetings, nothing, just no family issues and everything, whatever it is, right? How do you will
Mhm.
spend those 24 hours? How would you like to spend those 24 hours?
No clients.
And no clients, no deadlines, nothing. Just you and your 24 hours, right?
I have a lot of reading debt for
Oh,
myself.
wow. Wow. Amazing. That's,
Right.
that's pretty
A
much.
lot of a lot of books have been written on how AI is shaping the world now, how genetic mutation is changing the world. Uh, I do want to get better knowledge on that, on those stuff, because these are things that will shape our next 30, 40 years. The AI wave is here.
Right,
It's up to us to see how we adopt ourselves to it, right?
right,
That's what I
right.
do.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. And just one last piece of advice to end the podcast with a quick, on a good note. If you could give advice to all the students and all who are there in the college time, and what skills should they develop in order to be industry ready, right? Which area they should focus on? What do you think? What will be the future?
Yeah, that really depends on the person, right? I mean, we are not just talking about people who are interested in computer science. We are talking about people in mechanical, people in robotics, people in
Yeah.
electronics. uh, and people really need to go deep in the subject of their pursuit.
Okay.
We are no longer in a time wherein partial knowledge was sufficient to uh, get a job or be successful in a job. You have to be
Right.
really understanding and passionate about your subject. You no longer can have the excuse ki, okay, I want to, you know work 6 hours, play games the other 8 hours, travel
Right.
travel, I mean, travel, but you have to go deep in your subject.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with your statement. There needs to be the base understanding of this core subjects needs to be there that makes you a good engineer or maybe a good uh, industry ready, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you for giving those kind insight. It was my pleasure to host you. And now everyone who so there has been a lots of myths that has been cleared today through this podcast. So for everyone listening to this podcast, I hope these statements that Shauryam has made would help you a lot, and just start building your own and just keep working. And yeah, everyone is there in the industry to support you. Just go ahead and rock it. And thank you, Shauryam, to coming to
thank
this
you.
podcast. It was my pleasure to host you, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.